How are we getting on, folks? I think that's what you call getting back in the game with a bang. Look at overall, it's safe to say it was a very, very good day. A very, very good day. Um, Obviously, look at the likes of Leopardstown didn't necessarily go to plan. Neither did Down Ryle, but between Kempton and Limerick, it was an absolutely fantastic day. Fantastic day. Obviously, look at Master McShee. I told you all. 25-1 was absolutely crazy. Ends up going off. What was it, 10-1 or 11-1? Third favorite, and absolutely hacked up. Turning in, I thought it was going to be how far, but yeah, it was a bit tricky. It was a bit tricky, and it was a little bit it was a bit of a sort of heart and mouth moment. But once the result was called, oh my god, the whole house was nearly erupted. Earth Furies then as well. Jordan Canavan, you good thing. Left it a little late. he left it fucking plenty late. But he did the job. 7-1, 25-1 in Limerick, and then in Kempton. Obviously, look at Jack Amar. Oh, if only I looked at the King George properly and noticed that Danny Mullins on another ride with Tornado the Flyer 28-1. I was kicking myself. But look at three winners altogether: 11-1, 6-5, and I think it was 10-11 with Epitant. Brave Man's game was just absolutely flawless. Like he is an absolutely outrageous chaser, and I think, like, when you think about it this way, like the prices in Ireland like was ridiculous, especially there in Limerick there today. Like Master McShee was third to Bob Allinger, who had absolutely obliterated Brave Man's game in Cheltenham. So, you know, where is the consistency in form wise? But look at, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing these tips, and that's why all you great people are following me. It's absolutely brilliant. My phone has been hopping all day. Thanks to anyone who sent messages or commented or, you know, just sent on any good wishes. But yeah, the Peaky Blogger is back with a bang, and it's definitely going to continue on tomorrow. We are going to start off with Leopardstown. I've got some very, very nice horses in here. Some really, really nice sorts that are massively, massively overpriced. We have three each way selections, and three you could say shorter priced. I say shorter priced. They're in around 2-1. But the each ways are 16-1, 20-1, and 12-1. So if one of those, like Master McShee, can get his head in front, we are on the money, and we are definitely on the money there. I'm only going to be covering the two Irish meetings. I just said I do. I just said I do the King George meeting there today. The fact that it was Boxing Day and all that, like, but I think it's time to get a little bit sensible now and just stick to what we know. I know I made a liar out of me there today, because obviously, look at, with the most amount of winners coming from Kempton, it definitely did make a liar out of me. But we're going to try our hand anyway back in Leopardstown, and we'll see how we go. I might do like what I did there last night and pull up a few selections for Kempton on the Facebook page. But look, we'll leave it there anyway, and we'll see how we go. Anyway, we'll move on to the Leopardstown tomorrow. So very, very nice card on tomorrow. Very, very nice. Very big. Very, very much big price handicaps and different things like that. But some very, very nice talent on show now tomorrow as well. First race off, the 12:05, and this is wide open. Don't let the bookies fool you. It's wide open. It's one of those races where there's going to be about 6 or 7 going to the last in a line, and it's just going to be whoever gets the luck is going to come out on top. But one for me, I always like to go with experience, and experience in good company, and experience in the top 3, top 4. And the only one in here that has that amount of experience and that amount of, I suppose, ability is coming from the Brendan Duke stable. Now, for those who wouldn't know, Brendan Duke won this race 2 years ago with Lagan Gaeilge. I think it was 33-1 or 66-1, something in or around the lines like that. Not 100% sure on the price, but it was a very, very comfortable winner that particular day. And I know for a fact that he is targeting this race, and it's a race that he likes to win. And Dr. Brown Bear is a horse that has shown plenty of potential on the flat and plenty of potential over hurdles as well. So, look at in terms of class and everything else like that, the class is really unknown in this race because there's so many horses in here with so little runs to their name. It's so hard to tell. But Dr. Brown Bear is consistent and he's consistently placed, and therefore he's got up to a mark that's not necessarily over lenient, but it's given him plenty of room to whack at. And I just think 16-1 is massively overpriced. It could be, you might be able to find odds a little bit better. I'm just going to check to make sure that it hasn't drifted out or been backed in as in the process of me talking nonsense. But right, Leopardstown. Yeah, look at it's 16-1. I think it's look at Ben Kennedy has been among the winners as well over the past couple of weeks. So look at it's plain to see that the young lads in form, and it's just one of those things that I think Brendan Duke might cause a bit of an upset like he did here 2 years ago. I personally think Dr. Brown Bear should be in or around, what would I say, given his experience and given his place form, I'd be going in around 8-1. 16-1 is massively overpriced. And look at, if he can run to any sort of ability here, he's going to come out in relatively good fashion, and he's going to be thereabouts again. And 16-1 for a place in that race is definitely going to be very, very tempting and very, very nice if he can pull it off. And I just want to wish Brendan the very, very best of luck tomorrow as well. Now, the 12:35, and this one here is, it's one of those races that you don't really know what way it's going to go. Obviously, looking, Mount Leinster is a horse that has won around here before and has liked this sort of these sorts of races in or around Christmas, but I do not know. I just think it's just such a hard race to call. Do you know that? It's just so hard because there's so many Willie Mullins horses in here that you can't actually make cases for. Look at Haute Couleur, obviously ridden by Paul Townend, is probably the most likely one. But Mount Leinster is definitely one that wouldn't be a slouch either. But 9-2, it's a bit short for me. Gentleman to me, again, not necessarily a slouch, but needs to improve an awful lot on these. The one that I am liking though, and I'm probably going to live to regret this because I'm actually going away from all the Willie Mullins horses here. And the fact that this man is in such good form, it's nearly a losing docket already. But the Devil's Coachman for me, 9-4, it's a massive opportunity. When you look at his form over hurdles, he's a listed hurdle winner, and he is a very, very talented sort. And his chasing debut was very, very nice. Only 6 1/4 lengths behind Fernie Hollow, who's since backed up that performance there today, obviously beating Riviere de Tel, who was on course for a 4-timer in terms of an undefeated streak. And then when you look into that form, then Take All ran a massive race in the handicap there as well. So does this form stand up? By Jesus, it does. And I can tell you that here now, that definitely does stand up. And when you look at Haute Couleur, his form altogether, Jeff Kidder obviously look at a very, very talented sort, and Zana here then as well. But in behind, there hasn't really been anything of any real conviction. And the time before that then as well, look at Quilixius is a very, very talented sort as well, and Adagio, not a bad horse either, but I just do not know. I just cannot get my head around this horse, and I just think in particular this is it's a little bit of a stretch for him, especially coming in here. You'd really want, say, something along the lines of experience. Now, the fact that this Devil's Coachman is is after coming into good form, and look, at Noel Meade knows how to beat him as well. And I definitely think if there is a horse that's going to beat one of the Willie Mullins few, it's going to be the Devil's Coachman. And I personally think 9-4 is definitely a much better price for what you're getting than 11 or 10-11 on Hota Killer. I just don't know. Keep a close eye on this Global Society for Prunella Dobbs. She's coming over here targeting this race with a horse that's been in fairly decent form. Fairly decent form, and with one of the best men in the country on his back, Shane Fitzgerald. We're actually interviewing Shane now in the next couple of hours, which is going to be aired on the Irish Racing Hour podcast, which is live on Facebook. So make sure to go over to that channel and subscribe to there. And if you're at a spare minute or a loss for something to do on St. Stephen's night, definitely take a look at a few of the interviews. There are some very, very nice and very, very insightful interviews in there. But look, at for me, the Devil's Coachman is the best horse in this particular event, and should definitely be a hard enough horse to stop, providing that Hota Killer doesn't get a free run at him. Next race off, then the feature race of the day, the 110, the Paddy Power Rewards Club Chase. This one here is definitely, it looks night and day. As much as I love NYLN, I do not rate him in the slightest over 2 miles, and I do not rate him in the slightest since he moved to Henry de Bromheads. Now, I know, look at his chasing debut there this year was a breath of fresh air, but since then into John Durkin, I can't even describe the way he ran. It's not very characteristic of NYLN in terms of NYLN and Gordon Elliott's time. When you look at the two horses now, it's when you look at the horse in the two different stables, it's like looking at two completely different horses. Like NYLN, it was so hard to wake him up, but now he's too woken up, and he's too lit up, and he I never thought I'd see the day when I'd see NYLN wearing a hood down to the start. But look, at there you go. It's just one of those things. I don't think he's got the pace over 2 miles. I think his jumping needs to improve, especially to match with Shack and Poursois. Obviously, look at Shack and Poursois. He hasn't been able to match his ability in Ireland to what he does over in England. It's very much like beef or salmon. Back in the day, those who will remember beef or salmon, like beef or salmon was almost unbeatable here in Ireland, and especially in Leopardstown. But as soon as he got on the boat, he just became a shadow of himself, and that's essentially what Shack and Poursois did. Now, I know Willie Mullins has since come out and said that he sliced the chestnut off himself, and look, at that is a major major issue in terms of, say, keeping up the gallop in terms of race riding. It's like it'd be essentially like stubbing your little toe in and then being forced to sprint seconds later. It doesn't happen, and it shouldn't be the thing that defines him. But look, we've heard that he has recovered well from it, and in my opinion, there isn't a horse in the country over 2 miles that's going to be that's capable of beating Shack and Poursois. And that's just being brutally honest. Here in Ireland, he is the best 2 mile chaser we have. And 1-2, I know it's a short price, and I know it's an odds-on price, but in terms of a double or a treble or whatever it is you're interested in doing, I think it's definitely a very, very fair price for him, looking at the field that he's going to come up against. I'd be expecting a very, very wide margin winner here. although I would love to see Envoyelen win as well, but just can't see it happening. And like when you look at the two prices, then 9-4 for Envoyelen, it's a shocking price. It is absolutely shocking. Um, Unless Envoyelen was around 10-1, I wouldn't back him in this race. And that's just being brutally, brutally honest. I just think that Chacun Pour Soi has much, much more ability. Like even looking at the ratings, like Chacun Pour Soi is 176, whereas Envoyelen is 161. So automatically it's over a stone in the difference, but they're only racing off level weights. So immediately Envoyelen has to find a stone on Chacun Pour Soi, never mind to convert his 3 mile stamina based pedigree up against one of the quickest horses over a jump in 2 mile races or in 2 mile chases that Ireland has had for a pretty considerable amount of time. And I personally think that this is Chacun Pour Soi's race to lose, unless he falls, unless he injures himself like he did in Sandown. I cannot see this horse being beaten, and I can honestly say that I think he's going to be miles clear come the finish, providing he gets around safe and sound. Now, next race off then the 145, and this one here is the one I'm personally going to be doubling him up with. Largy debut at 2-1, and this one here is actually going to be my nap of the day in terms of value and everything else like that. I cannot see a horse in here that's going to come even close to him. When you look at his hurdle debut, beaten Kilcrut by 10 lengths, ahead of Sharp Focus, who was 24 lengths behind him, and Never a Dull Moment, who was 7.5 lengths behind that. Like, that is 40 lengths between the first four. Like, that is absolutely outrageous. It's outrageous. And 10 lengths ahead of Kilcrut is outrageous as well. Now, the only way this lad is going to go is improving. It was his first run over hurdles, and he absolutely spanked Kilcrut. He spanked him. Is he good enough to win this race? I think he's good enough to absolutely hack up. And that's just being brutally honest. I think he's good enough to hack up. 2-1. Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore, Chris Jones colours. Look at it, it's a match made in heaven. And 2-1 for me is definitely the way to go. How the horse is 2-1, I cannot understand. He beat one of the best bumper horses this country has produced in quite some amount of time. Kilcrut, obviously all you have to do is look back at his bumper days. He was the type of horse to just absolutely walk all over the field, and we expected him to do this over hurdles as well, but in fairness he did. But Largy debut was arguably the better horse on the day, and I definitely think 2-1 in this field. I know, look, it is a competitive field and all that, but there is not one in here that's come close to matching Kilcrut. And Largy debut has beaten by 10 lengths. I'd be expecting, at the very least, a 5-length victory here. At the very least. And this is just being very fair to the rest of the pack, because there are 140 odd rated hurdlers in here. Granji as well, in particular, is a very talented sort and very talented on soft ground, but I cannot see her getting anywhere close to Largy debut here at 2-1, and that is going to be my nap of the day. Next race off then is the 220, and this one here is actually going to be my patron pick of the day. But the next race off, and this one here, this is where it gets very interesting. I am personally going to go with a bit of a chance here now, and I'm going to take a chance on Enjoy Dallin, currently priced at 20-1 for Kieran Murphy and Conor Orr. This one is definitely one that's going to be very nice in terms of the winter campaign ahead. When you look down through his form book, you have to go back down now, excluding the run over hurdles there last time out. That was just to get the horse fit, and even still, it was 7th out of 19, so it wasn't a bad run. But when you look down and you go through this horse's form, you have to go down to the 8th of February 2020 to find a race that's been out of the top 4, and they are paying, I think, 4 or 5 places here. So in terms of consistency, this horse has it all. He's fairly nicely weighted. He's got the experience run under his belt as well, and he, like, not the experience run, but more like a fitness run. The fact that he was laid off for quite some time, he did come back, and he did run a very credible race over hurdles. But this lad's name of the game is chasing, and he is a better chaser. And 20-1 for me anyway. Conor Orr is a very talented jockey. Don't get me wrong. Keep a close eye on Lord Ryle as well. A very, very big, imposing horse as well. Currently priced at 18-1 for Willie Mullins. That to me looks like the main danger in my book. Excluding the likes of Alpha Mix and the bosses Oscar, who are too short for me to be getting on in a race of this nature. But in terms of consistency and the ability to run a very, very good race in a big field, Enjoy Dallin has every single box ticked. Every single one. He's so versatile. He's well able to jump. He's been mixing it and matching it with some very, very capable horses. And look at being very, very realistically. I personally think that this horse has a massive, massive future ahead of him. When you look at the Grand National third, behind Freewheeling Dylan and Run Wild Fred, and you look down through the horses that were behind them: Latest Exhibition, Sempo, Off You Go, Cocoa Beach, Gusta Gold, very, very talented mare. Snugsbury Benny as well, very talented horse. Fitzhenry, Atlantic Shore, Espinito Bello. The rest of them all fell or pulled up, so we're not going to look at them. But I just think that this horse has a much better chance than what the bookies are making him out. And 20-1 for me is massively, massively overpriced, and realistically could cause a bit of a shock. Not necessarily saying he's going to win, but he has got the ability to put in a very, very decent performance. And in my opinion, that's going to be good enough for this particular instance here. And 20-1, I'll definitely take an arm off for it. I can't imagine him being that price come off there either. But if he is, I'll be backing him every single time he goes out, because he's definitely not worth 20-1, and I can guarantee you that. Now, next race off, final race of the day. And this one here going in the bumper, it's a hard one to call. Do you go with the experience with Barry O'Neill and Gordon Elliott? And you're basically going against what I'd be sort of preaching. You want a horse to finish out the race, and this particular horse didn't do that, but he has the experience, and he more than likely will come on for it. But what risk are you going to take backing him at 11-8? In my opinion, I'm going to go with a horse that hasn't run yet, but coming from a yard that knows how to get the bumper winners, and with one of the best amateurs on board, Sam Curling, Derek O'Connor, Any Biscuits. Who named the horse Any Biscuits? I do not know. But when you look down through the breeding, it's some very, very nice. It's got a very, very nice page. Obviously, look at it was sold for 13,000 as a 3-year-old, 6-foal half brother to 2-mile hurdle winner Glenaddy. The dam was an unraced half sister to German 3-mile 1 listed chase winner Hilltopper, and bumper 3-mile chase winner Thistlecraft, and is a granddaughter of the Thyestes chase winner Taristel. Look at it's definitely got good breeding. If you really want to go with something that it has the potential to be special, I'd be going with Embassy Gardens here. I just think I just think it's too short for me. Look at it. It cost 110,000 for a reason. It's obviously a very, very good horse and a very, very talented horse, but we don't know like sometimes these big expensive horses can, I suppose, they can disappoint. And the fact that Derek O'Connor writes for Sam Curling, you don't see that happen too often. I just think the fact that they're paying 3 places, 11 to 8, 6 to 4, and then 12 to 1 for Any Biscuits, third favourite. I just think that'll be good enough here. Because look, realistically, we're like it's such a hard one to call, and it's such a hard like what way do you want to do it? Because like at the end of the day, you're basically betting blind in this race because there's so little to go on, and I just think in terms of value, Any Biscuits is more of a chance in placing than Santino and Embassy Gardens have of winning. I just think it's going to be a little bit of tit for tat going up to the line, and I just wouldn't risk it with the price being so short. I'd be much happier see Any Biscuits be 20 lengths behind and run on for third at 12 to 1, because that to me is more value than back in a 6 to 4 and coming second, or back in 11 to 8 and coming second by a nose or by a head or whatever it is like that. Because let's be honest, that's probably what's going to happen. I just think it's a safer bet, and that's why I'm basically tipping it up. I think it's a safer bet to ensure Any Biscuits place as opposed to backing one of the 2 top horses to go and win the race, and that's all I'm really going to cover on for tomorrow. So look at, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It'll make sure that you don't miss anything that I post up. Obviously, look at with college and all that starting up around mid-January again. I will be off YouTube for a small little while, but hopefully I'll be able to keep this going some way as best I can. But I can't really promise anything. But look at, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. I leave a link in the description below if you're feeling extra generous for the patron service. We spoke about the interview with Shane Fitzgerald later on. It's basically to help fund that podcast and keep it going. We have all sorts of people in from all different walks of life in the industry, and it's definitely a very, very nice addition to what's already a very, very vast and growing market in terms of racing podcasts. It's just something different, something that you all might like to look at and enjoy, and listen to these stories told by people that don't necessarily get the media time that they should deserve. But look at, go and leave it there. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, make sure you don't miss a beat, and the very, very best of luck again tomorrow. Hopefully a few more big price winners.